Hey guys, this is the last part of the API automation, which is the part 4. In previous videos, I did talk about overview of the API and what API does and architecture of the API, and we started automating the API, some of the test cases into automation. So we did talk about the get, post, delete, and today I'll talk about the post, and also we're gonna go over with the get, post, put, and delete. So whoever missed the first 3 videos, I suggest you guys go ahead and watch it, and today we're just gonna wrap up the API testing framework. Okay, and then we're also going to talk about one of the major testing, which is the end-to-end testing for automation in API, and then we will be running the entire test suite using the Postman, and we will be showing you how to run the test throughout through the Newman, which is the npm, and how to generate the HTML report, and how to run the entire test suite using the batch file. So in these videos, we're going to try to make it short, and we're going to try to cover all these topics. So let's get started. Okay, so I do have my testing API, the jar that I was talking about, which is our talentTEK API jars, which is the landlord APIs. So this is pretty much like in Swagger. This we are using this Swagger as a requirements. So we have the get, post, we have the get, and then you can get the. So for example, in the post you can create a landlord, and if you do the get request, you will get the list of the landlords back. So assume that you have 5 different landlords and you want to get the specific landlord from the list. You can pass landlord slash the landlord ID, because every landlord have unique IDs. So from this get you can get the specific landlords, and then you can go ahead and update that landlord, and then you can delete one landlord using this endpoint. So we will talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 different endpoints. Okay. So however, so whenever we do the API, always remember we need to deal with the 4 different HTTP requests, which is the post, get, put, and the delete. Those are the 4 major requests that as a tester you have to know no matter what. All right, so our tool is the Postman. So this is a native app. If you can go to the Postman. You can go to the get Postman, I think. Yeah, getpostman.com. You can download the native app. So now they have it for Mac, they have for Windows 3264, and they also have it for Linux. So before we used to use the Chrome extension, so I suggest you guys use the native app, which is better than the Chrome extension. All right, so let's go ahead and let me give you the ideas of the post. So we have one landlord, which is Rakib, and we're gonna send this request. And okay, so before so now I'm getting an error because it says could not get the response. So I did talk about the environment file. So we are having environments, but which is cannot be found because we haven't choose the environment, right? So technically we need to create an environment file. So I don't know what happened with my old one, so I'm going to create a new one. So I assume that I said landlord API environment. Assume this is your dev environment, right? And then you say base URL, and then my base URL should be localhost for now, but at work you're supposed to have something like this, qa dot or dab dot whatever, qa dot google.com, for example, right? So for now our endpoint is our base URL is going to be localhost 8080, and click on add. Now we're going to choose the environment, and now if you click on code you will see the URL. So I have host localhost 8080/landlord. So in this endpoints I'm going to create a new landlord. First name is going to be Rakib, the last name is going to be Khan, and we're going to go ahead and send this request. If it's successfully done, we will get the 2-1, and we do have a test cases. So we have 2 different test cases here. We have if the request goes successfully, we will get 2-1 back, and our content type should be the content type should be present. So if you go back to the headers, you should see the content type. You can also verify whether content type is JSON or not. You're supposed to verify that as a tester. And then at the same time, what we did is we captured the landlord ID, because every time you generate a landlord, or every time you send a request to create a landlord, pretty much it generates the unique ID for specific landlords. Okay. Now if you go here, this is the get endpoint where we are going to about to get all the list of the landlords. So which is, this is the endpoint. It says retrieve all the landlords. Pretty much like with this endpoint we are going to retrieve all the landlords, the list of the landlords. So far we have one, so let's go ahead and create another one so I can show you the difference. QA, and then I will say test. Okay, and I'm going to create another landlord. So the ID changed, and then so this ID I am storing inside the set environment variables. So I'm going to save it under here. So if you click on this eye icon, quick look where you see that I capture the landlord ID. So every time I run, it overwrites the ID. So every time you run it, you get the latest landlord ID, and the old one get deleted. If you want to keep both of them, so you need to change the environment into a different name. Okay, all right, cool. So now I have two or maybe three, I don't know how many times I ran twice. Okay, so now I have the list of the landlords, which is two. One is Rakib Khan, another one is a QA test. All right, so now if I want the specific landlord, which is the then I need to send a ID of that landlord. Okay, so I need to send the ID. So ID was generated from where? From this guy. So this is the ID I need to pass in order to get the QA test landlord information. So I'm passing that ID. If you look at the code here, it says that my local this is the base URL / landlord / the ID. So in this ID I'm going to get the keyword test information. I didn't get the information for the other landlord because I haven't provided that landlord ID. All right, so now, so this is your post and this is your get, and we showed you two different get. One is like retrieving all the landlords, another one is like retrieving specific landlords using the unique information, which is the landlord ID. Okay, and you can write some sort of test. I have schema validation. Make sure this is an object, and then the name is in a string, and first name is in a string, last name is a string, trusted is a boolean, and apartments is an empty array. And so that's has been tested in my schema validation, which is right here. And then I also verified the response code, which is 200, and also I verified the content type. Okay, you can also verify whether it's returned the correct first name and last name, because you already know that your first name and last name based on the ID. All right, cool. So now we are going to talk about the update. So what is update does? Update does nothing except updating the information. Okay, the put update the information. So so here I am going to create a post is because I don't want to mess up any other landlord that has been or somebody might use that landlord or whatever. So every time you have a scenario, you should do end-to-end flow. So for example, the first flow is going to be I am going to create a landlord, and then I'm going to capture it. So my first name is AWS, and the last name is the server. I'm going to create a new landlord, and I'm going to store his unique ID. Then I am going to use that unique ID in here. Okay, unique ID is here, and then I'll inside the body I will say update AWS underscore update. So I'm going to update the information. So if you want to see if this new AWS landlord has been created, you can go ahead and run this query and check whether AWS has been created or not. So you see right here I have the new landlord called AWS server, and this is the ID for it, right? IU, and the ends with the V. So now I'm going to update that landlord. If I click on code, I have IU and then end with V, and then I'm going to go ahead and update this landlord information, which is the first name and last name. And now I'm going to check, and it says that you can verify this message. As a tester, you should verify those messages. Okay, beside the response code, you should verify the messages, you should verify the schema. Okay, and then after the landlord get updated, you should use the other endpoint, which is this endpoint, using the specific ID to see if the name has been updated. So by passing the ID, I need to verify. So this is one of my tests. I need to verify whether name has been updated or not. Those are the most important one, right? So beside the response code, you should validate if the name has been updated or not. Good. And now we're going to talk about the delete. So let's say you have 5 landlords. So if I going to retrieve all the list of the landlords, I do have 3 landlords, and now I want to delete one of the landlords. So for example, like I want to delete the last landlord that I created, which is the AWS server updated. So I'm going to delete that guy, and now it does says that landlord has been updated. Now I'm going to verify whether it's got updated or not. So right now, so this landlord ID is not found in the database. Technically this landlord has been deleted from my system. Okay, so now if I run it again, if I run this guy again, the list of the landlords, I won't see the AWS server anymore. So I did the get request again to verify if the landlord has been deleted or not. And here, if I put the wrong information, wrong landlord ID, for example, I just make one and say go ahead and get it, it will give me the 404 because it's not found. It's not a 400 because the request is valid. However, things cannot be found inside the DB, so it's supposed to give you 404. Make sense? All right, good. And now another thing I want to add is here, like after you're done with your testing, all the endpoint after is get covered, you should do one round of end-to-end testing. Pretty much you should do so. If you look at those 4 endpoints, post, put, delete, and then get, if you look at the 4 endpoint, we can write one end-to-end scenarios for this. So end-to-end scenario will be like this: you create a landlord, you do a get to see if the landlord has been created, and then you update that landlord, then you delete that landlord, then you do another get, make sure it has been deleted. Okay, so that's called end-to-end scenario. So we're gonna go here and we will create a new landlord. So now I will say like I will change the name to end-to-end test. Okay, so I'm going to run this test, and I created a brand new landlord called end-to-end test, and his ID is end with HE. Okay, and I'm going to update that landlord. I'm going to update and say my I will rename it to end-to-end and the test. So initially my landlord name was end-to-end, and last name was the test. Now I am updating his information to end-to-end updated, last name as test updated. So I'm going to update that landlord. Now I'm going to verify is whether the landlord has been updated or not. So it did, and then I'm going to delete that landlord. So I'm going to delete that. Now I'm going to get it back, whether to see if I get 404. So I should get a 404 because it has been removed from my database. So this is the end-to-end flow. In your test, you should have something like this all the time. Okay, so I'm going to run this entire test suite using the Postman UI. So I'm gonna click run. In this run window, it does not help you much beside running it. So technically it doesn't give you any reports. So as a tester, you should be able to generate a report to share with the teams, or like closing out your Jira ticket, you just attach that ticket, the report, right? So this UI does not help much. However, it does help you to run the test. So this is the framework that I want to run, API automation, and environment is landlord API. And you can it has a option like where you can put the iteration, like how many times you want to run. So I'm gonna run one time for now and click run API automation, which is your framework. So it's gonna go ahead and run, and it will run the entire framework for you. And now I have 18 test cases, and they all pass, nothing failed. Okay, so if you can export the summary of it, but it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't give you any report technically, so I'm not interested on this one. I'm going to close it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export these collections, which means my framework, my entire test suite, right? And I'm going to desktop, I'm going to save it here, API automation Postman. And now I'm going to save the landlord dev. I'm going to save that as well. So landlord application dev right here. And now I am going to run them as from the Newman. Okay, so I'm going to run from the Newman. In order to have the Newman, you need to install Node.js. So I do have Node.js in my computer. So once you install the Node.js, Newman automatically comes with that. Okay, so and they also the Postman, if you go to if you go to their website, they show you how to install the Newman and stuff like that. Okay, and they have so many other crazy scenarios, like you can go ahead and look at it. It's very useful tool for automation testing purposes. All right, and so now I'm gonna open the command prompt, right, and navigate to. All right, so now to run the test inside the Newman, you need to say Newman get see the collection, which is API, right, and then the E for environment. So my environment start with land, and then you set tab landlord API, and then if you, in order to generate a report, you got to say -h report .html. It will generate the report, and then click enter, and then it's going to run the entire test suite for you. Okay, you see how all the tests is running right now. And now inside the it automatically by default Newman generated a folder, and if you open that folder, this is an HTML report. I had 18 assertion, 13 requests, 0 test cases failed, and the average time it took 18 milliseconds for each scenarios. Okay, so think about it. If you do this sort of test in Postman, in Selenium, it will take minimum half an hour to run the 13 scenarios. Depends on the test cases, but here with the API, you are able to do everything within 18 milliseconds, and total is 15 milliseconds. So it's really worth it of doing API automation. So I went to the conference, and one of the person was asking the presenter that my automation Selenium framework automation test cases are failing, so what should I do in the Jenkins, right? So she answered that technically you should not run the Selenium into your development pipeline, because sometimes it does fail, sometimes browser takes so long to load, and because of this and that reason, like, you should not put your Selenium framework into a continuation integration pipeline. So however, you can add your unit test and API testing, because API testing take very less time, as you can saw that. So in my current project, what the company I'm working on right now, I'm putting all my API testing into the development pipeline, so that way, like, it can run in the Jenkins, and every time they do the build, our framework runs, make sure we get the results, and it doesn't take so long. So technically, API automation testing is worth it in order to do your continuation integration testing. So that way, when developer push something, your API testing kicks off and then run it, and that way you can get the results ahead of time. All right, because API testing does not care about the GUI, so it just goes to the it just tests the logic, so make sure all the functions is working or not. That's why we are doing the API testing. Okay, so now running this test from a batch file. In order to do that, you need to create a text file. So I would say my API suite. Okay, okay, good. And now all right, so I'm gonna copy the path. So I'm gonna say cd desktop, and then we're gonna fire the same command, Newman C for collection. So my collection name is API automation. I'm gonna rename, click on rename, and then copy everything, including the file extension. Ouch. C, and then the environment, space E for environment, and then copy the environment name, E, and then -h report.html, and then save this guy. Okay, so I'm going to delete this report to show you that my batch file is going to work. So here what I did is I went to the CD, because my applications, my files are located in the desktop. Then I went to the desktop, and then I fired the same command that I fired a few seconds ago in our command, in the command prompt. Same command. Okay, and now since this is a text file, we need to rename it to the bat file. So you're gonna say BAT, and it's going to look like a gear with the bat logo. Okay, so this is the bat file. You just click on it and it's going to go ahead and run the framework for you, and you don't need to do anything. As you can see that it will generate the Newman report by default, and then if you go inside, it will show you the report. Okay, make sense? All right, so sooner or later I will come up with another different types of framework in Postman, because they have generated a they have a new feature, something called Postman BDD framework. So Postman BDD. So in the next videos, if I get a time, I'll make it as fast or as soon as I can. We will talk about the Postman BDD, which is really a fancy framework that Postman made. Okay, I'm currently using that, so I will try to come up with some videos where you guys can learn how to do testing using the Postman BDD framework. Okay, have a nice day, and if you have any questions, please feel free to write the comment or email me, or just write comment below, share the video, and just subscribe us to get the more videos. Okay, thank you.